A family demands justice after a child's birthday party mistakenly becomes the site of a Chicago police raid. At the time of the raid, a 4-year-old boy was celebrating his birthday. The person police were looking for moved from that home years earlier.
WGN's Marcella Raymond here with the full story. Marcella.
Yeah, and the family that was having that birthday party says it was the most terrifying experience they have ever had. And the thing is, they didn't have to go through any of it.
It's a scary feeling. It was very scary.
Kiana Jackson and Stephanie Burris cried again today, reliving the night 6 weeks ago when their house was raided by 17 Chicago police officers with guns drawn. It was Stephanie Burris's 4-year-old son TJ's birthday.
Can you imagine a 4 or a 7-year-old sitting playing games with the other children and then come in and being confiscated with guns pointed at them?
Burris, whose 7-year-old daughter Samari was also in the house, and Jackson, their aunt, filed a federal excessive force case and civil rights case against the city and Chicago police. Burris and Jackson say they asked to see the search warrant and were denied. We're told the officers were from Skokie and wouldn't tell them their names or badge numbers.
I reached for my phone and then I was tackled by 2 of the police officers. So knowing that one officer went through my phone to double check to make sure I didn't film anything. So no, I was handcuffed.
The house is in the 7700 block of Paulina in Auburn Gresham. According to the search warrant, police were looking for a man suspected of possessing and selling ecstasy. He had not lived at that location in years.
Our children in Auburn Gresham face enough trauma every day just trying to grow up in Chicago.
Stephanie Burrs says her children are terrified, cannot sleep, have nightmares, and don't want to leave the house. They felt like they and their family were going to be shot that night on February 10th.
To hear her say that, to worry about her or her brother getting shot by someone that's supposed to protect and serve them, it's terrifying.
Now, the women's attorney made FOIA requests for about a month for any dash cam, body cam, or other information related to this raid. He has not heard back from them. He says he doesn't think the officers had body cameras, Joe and Micah, which is required by law. They are supposed to have them on. So I contacted Chicago Police, have not heard back from them for a comment on this. But we'll keep following it.
Thanks, Marcella.
Okay.
Earlier this year.
Former KPD officer Anthony Custance resigned after it was discovered he fired shots into the back of Reed's house, which was against operational plans, and then he tried to cover it up. Custance has been indicted on a charge of tampering with evidence. 6 News reporter Imani Payne joins us now in studio with the very latest details. Hi, Imani.
Chris and Leslie, while Custance is awaiting sentencing and the Texas Rangers say they have completed their investigation, Reed's family says things are far from over. They say the Rangers report details a second officer that fired shots into the house that day, possibly firing the fatal shot to Reed. The family says they and their attorney have been trying to get that second officer's name since they received this news, but say they've been getting the runaround from investigators and from the DA's office about it. The family also says their lawsuit has been delayed because they do not have that second officer's name to add to it. They are frustrated with what they're calling a lack of transparency.
It makes us feel hopeless at times, but that's why we're still trying to fight for justice and for our voice to be heard. I mean, that's the best way, which is sad for 2019. You got to go through all this just for transparency.
Sentencing for Custance is set for early December, and coming up tonight at 10, you'll hear much more from the family and learn why they say they won't allow Reed's case to be pushed to the side and forgotten. Chris and Leslie.
All right, appreciate that, Imani.
The suspect in an attempted murder case, and the search for him led to a deadly raid by Baltimore County Police, during which Officer Jason Schneider was shot and killed, though the man they were looking for was not inside the house. A jury heard evidence against 17-year-old Rashid Stanford and today found him not guilty. 11 News I-Team reporter Barry Sims is in Towson with details. And Barry, I would guess this officer's death cast a long shadow over Stanford's case.
That's right, and according to Stanford's father, that is exactly what happened. He says that prosecutors were trying to make a case against his son and make him pay for a crime that he didn't commit, and also the loss of a police officer.
The state's attorney looked and pointed at my son and said, "You're the reason." No, he's not the reason. He's not the reason Officer Schneider was killed.
Tavon Stanford thinks the case against his son focused on finding blame. 17-year-old Rashid Stanford was on trial for the attempted murder of a man who was shot last August outside the Brick House Bar on Winters Lane in Catonsville. A Baltimore County jury deliberated about an hour and a half before returning a not guilty verdict.
I'm happy that they were able to see the evidence against my client and that my client never shot someone. The victim in this case stood on the stand and said out of his own mouth, out of his own free will, under oath, no, it was not Rashid Stanford who shot me.
But looming over this case is what happened following a week-long search for Rashid, who was 16 at the time. Using a no-knock warrant, Baltimore County Police raided a house on Roberts Avenue. 36-year-old officer Jason Schneider was killed along with one of Rashid's relatives, Tavon Smith. Rashid was not there.
Yes, I apologize. I'm sorry. My heart goes out to that officer. I think there was an added police presence due to the fact that an officer died. And I think they put their best people on the investigation and turned over every stone in order to try to convict my client.
Prosecutors accept the jury's verdict and say this was an extremely difficult case.
It was absolutely, unquestionably, a very difficult case. It was investigated great by the Baltimore County Police Department. They put a lot of effort into this. They did a wonderful job. But when you're dealing with situations with either uncooperative witnesses or inconsistent pieces, that's something that we have to deal with.
They admit Officer Schneider's death overshadowed the trial.
Oh, unquestionably. Yeah, I mean, it's an officer losing his life and trying to protect our citizens. It was related directly to this case, and so it's something that's not going to be ignored.
Police arrested Taquan Barney following that raid. He was arrested on weapons charges. The 18-year-old's trial is now set for July 8th. Reporting live from Towson, Barry Sims, WBAL-TV 11 News.
More about the boyfriend who says he was trying to protect himself and his girlfriend, Breonna Taylor, when police were entering their home during a drug raid. Our coverage is continuing on the still developing story. Hello, everyone. I'm Doug Prophet. Kenneth Walker was charged with attempted murder of a police officer when he opened fire on March 13th. Tonight, Gabrielle is showing us the aftermath of the shooting.
These images released by attorneys for Breonna Taylor's family give us a better idea of what transpired that early March morning when the former Louisville EMT was killed during an LMPD drug raid. Bullet holes in her living room above the bathroom sink, even hitting kitchen cookware and shattering a sliding glass door. Attorneys believe police were shooting blindly from outside and fired more than 20 rounds.
Well, the main focus here is to make sure that Breonna's family gets the facts. They deserve that. The community deserves this.
Mayor Greg Fisher says next week the investigation will be sent to the FBI and U.S. Attorney for review. Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker III, was charged with attempted murder of a police officer. He shot at police in what he says was self-defense, thinking it was a home invasion. In an affidavit, his father says Walker was about to start a new job at the post office, adding his son is not a drug dealer. Documents show Walker graduated from Valley High School, where he played football for 4 years before attending Western Kentucky University.
The question is whether the police officers operated under the constitutional limits that apply to them at the time they used force.
Louisville lawyer and former federal prosecutor Kent Wicker says these kind of cases are always challenging because the law almost never second guesses strategy, like how police used a no-knock search warrant just after midnight.
The rules that we have set up, it's difficult to prosecute a police officer who's in the public interest in trying to do the job that we've set out.
But there are some exceptions.
Either acting intentionally wrongfully, that he's doing something that he knows is not permitted by the law, acting so far outside of the realm of reasonableness.
Tonight, Gabrielle, WHAS 11 News.